Hey guys, it's Angelo, and today, as Castle Nathria is opening up today and tomorrow depending on where you live, today I want to take a look at which conduits and soulbinds to play with, which potions and which buff food to be using, and basically just preparing you for the raid. Shadowlands sees us focusing on a lot of gameplay enhancing factors like legendaries, soulbinds and covenants, and conduits as well, the latter which will arguably be the most impactful for your damage once you start raiding, as you will ideally not have a legendary yet. Now, if you wish to get any questions you may have answered and wish to join me when raiding live, I'll be streaming on Twitch tonight, as well as on Wednesday when I'll be spamming Mythic Plus, and on Thursday, which is when I will be raiding, so be sure to tune in with the link in the description box below. If you wish to join the discussion with anything Priest or World of Warcraft related, then be sure to join our Discord server with the link in the description box below as well. I just wanted to say that we're getting close to reaching 4,000 members on Discord, which is insane really. You guys are awesome, and you are creating a wonderful community for all of us to be a part of. Alright, with that being said, and without any further ado, let's go right ahead and have a look. Alright, so let's start us off with the core of this video, namely our conduits and our soulbinds. Currently, there are only two real options for us to use when it comes to conduits at the moment, and as stated in my Shadow Priest guide, those are Dissonant Echoes and Haunting Apparitions. Currently, Dissonant Echoes actually sims higher in single target, but according to the sims I ran, Haunting Apparitions will begin to pull ahead even on a 2-target cleave. Specifically for raiding, this means that Dissonant Echoes will be good on bosses like Shriekwing, Sludgefist, or the Hungering Destroyer, or rather Devourer, but you should sim yourself to see whether or not the Haunting Apparitions conduit you will have in your bags will pull ahead on other bosses. For me personally, Haunting Apparitions pulls ahead by just about 0.5% on any boss fight with more than one constant add or boss, so bosses like the Huntsman Altimore, the Sun King Salvation, the Stone Legion Generals, and Sire Denathrius, just to name a few. Ultimately, just be sure to prepare yourself to switch around if you have to, if you were fortunate enough to grab both Haunting Apparitions and Dissonant Echoes in one way or another. When it comes to the soulbinds themselves, you'll want to be sure to be playing with Pelagos if you're playing with the Kyrian, as Combat Meditation, his first soulbind power, is insanely strong. You should pick a Many if you are at Renown level 6 with the Necrolords and have already unlocked her, as she gives you a very strong burst and just provides a significant intellect buff whenever you use Unholy Nova, as long as you're close to other players, which you should always be pretty much, while the Venthyr should be running with either Theotar or Nadia. Finally, the small minority of you who picked Night Fae, stay strong out there of course, and be sure to be going with Naya or Nia, as her mastery buff will be quite decent. Since we'll only have 2 soulbind powers at the start of the raid, there's no certain path you need to follow down the skill tree just yet, just be sure that you have the potency conduit available and you actually have it slotted. As already well known at this point, we should see both the Kyrian and the Necrolord's Shadow Priests in that sense dealing the most damage at the start of the raid, with the Kyrian Shadow Priests probably being ahead on the raw single target bosses in Castle Nathria if they play the Boon of the Ascended properly, while the Necrolords will most likely have an easier and a better time on any multi-target boss fight. The Venthyr are still your best choice in terms of multi-speccing though when focusing on discipline, and all in all the damage differences of each covenant will not be as impactful for your damage as they may seem. Alright, now let's take a look at which buff foods, flasks, and potions to bring along with you when you're raiding. Fortunately, the options here are quite simple. Spectral Flask of Power for the raw 70 intellect gain as your flask is the best way to go, while using the Potion of Phantom Fire as your combat potion. The Potion of Phantom Fire also directly synergizes with Shadow Core Oil on your weapon, so be sure to always have some Shadow Core Oil applied to your staff or to your main hand. When it comes to your buff food, the Feast of Gluttonous Hedonism will be your best by a considerable margin, but haste, crit or mastery buff food will be fine if you don't have feasts at your disposal. Just be sure to sim yourself to figure out which of the 3 gives you the most benefit. The Veiled Augment runes are actually quite powerful in Shadowlands and should also be used if you can get your hands on some of them, but they're going to be going for an insanely high amount of money on the auction house, so if you don't have the gold, I honestly genuinely would not bother. Okay, last but not least, let's sit down for a couple of minutes and just take a look at how the Shadow Priest will be looking going into Castle Nathria. It looks hands down as if the Shadow Priest will be one of the absolute top specs in raiding at the moment. This can be contributed to many reasons, but the primary reason is that our damage is just insanely high, and our damage ramps up exponentially when applied to multiple targets, something that many other specs in the game currently lack. The Shadow Priest is able to benefit tremendously from an environment where we're able to generate insanity from multiple enemy sources, which we can funnel into more devouring plagues, which not only help out a lot with focused target damage, but also spread the majority of our damage onto more than one enemy. This makes the spec incredibly versatile when it comes to how we can deal damage, and also makes it easy to deal with most damage scenarios, as I've already stated in my Shadow Priest guide. For Castle Nathria specifically, I foresee us being strong on essentially every single boss, especially on single target bosses like Shriekwing or Sludgefist, and on cleave bosses like the Huntsman Ultimore or the Stone Legion Generals. In general though, there's not a single boss in this raid where we wouldn't be in the top 3 or 4 in my opinion, but we'll have to wait and see. It'll also be quite interesting to see which talents people will decide to be running with in different situations, as many talents currently are comparatively close to one another. Both Shadow Crash and Auspicious Spirits will find their use, while players will surely be playing around with both Misery and Searing Nightmare on bosses like the Sun King Salvation and on Sire the Nathrius. Bosses like Shriekwing and Sludgefist will display an interesting DPS race between Twist of Fate and Misery, as well as Shadow Crash and Auspicious Spirits, while I'm excited to see where we'll be able to pull off Surrender to Madness properly instead of Hungering Void. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Personally, I'm incredibly excited to be raiding this tier, and even though the raid release will directly overlap with Cyberpunk 2077, something I've been waiting to play for the past 7 years, I genuinely can't wait to get into Castle Nathria and to go crazy. As always, thank you so much everyone for watching, and a special thanks to my supporters over on Patreon. You guys are awesome, and thanks as well to all of the subs, gifted subs, and donators over on Twitch. I wouldn't be here without the support from all of you guys. Now, as always my friends, have a good one, get excited for Castle Nathria, good luck with looting the Eternal Call to the Void, and I will see you all in the next one.